it's Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design. I'm so glad you could join me here today. I have a wonderful fall home decor folio / mini album project to share with you today. This is made with Authentique's gorgeous fall collection called Pleasant. This is the 6x6. I used both the 6x6 and the 12x12 collection kit in this project, but as you can see, just beautiful fall colors, fall images, gorgeous patterns that Authentique is famous for. Here's a peek at some of the images. I just love working with this collection. Fall is my favorite season. So this is a made from scratch folio. It measures 5x7. It's a TriFold, and it has 2-inch spines. And I kind of came up with a new design for this one. It's really fun. I've decorated the spine with some little autumn metal charms and a little image from the collection. The cover has lots of stitching. It's got a real rustic fall feel. One of Tim's ornate frames with an image from the collection inside. And I altered these little birdie flowers using mists and inks in my collection. We'll talk about all of that in the tutorial. I love acorns, and I was just thrilled to find acorn patterned paper in this collection. It has a magnetic cover, and as you can see, it opens out here on this first page. I've used this beautiful floral print, and I just created a flap page, decorated it up with images, and you have to keep this kind of flat because this is where your magnets are located. So this lifts up. There's a little hidden journaling spot here with room for a small photo. This is one of the 3x4, so this is about 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then of course you can put a large photo here. Inside the front cover, same thing. This is where your magnets are located, so you really can't add a lot here, which is why I used this gorgeous, gorgeous image from the signature page, and then just added this little punch out scallop circle sentiment from the 12x12 components. So this opens out, and here are our 2-inch spines, but what I did was I just created a little page unit, which I know technically folios aren't supposed to have pages, but you know, let's make our own rules here. It's okay to change things up and create your own designs. So I've created 2 page units, and you'll learn how to make these. And I've decorated them, the front cover of each one, let me bring this in so you can see, with beautiful fussy cut images and scraps of paper, and just real simple. You can't go too crazy here, but you can add a little bit of dimension because of the width of the spine. And then these are mirror images of each other. Each of these page units measures 4 1/2 by 6 3/4. So you can get good size photos here. And then each page unit has a pocket. I just decorated this up with some little papers. So you can do photos here. You can tuck recipes, your favorite fall recipes. I think this would be a really fun fall recipe album. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 photo pages plus the 2 photo mounts here. Same on this side. These are mirror images. This center panel is a pocket. Oops, there's a little bit of schmutz in there, hot off the press. And I created an insert that goes back behind this panel, and then you can add photos here. So this insert is 4 1/2 by 5 1/2 here, and 4 1/2 by 6 1/2 here. So you can do, you know, 3x4 photos here and 4x6 photos front and back, and then that just tucks back behind this panel of designer paper. And then there's a pocket, because you know I love my pockets, and I created a little folio to go in here and just decorated it up with some fussy cut images. And this is a trifold as well, so you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more photos here, and these measure 4 by 5 3/4. So lots of room for photos or recipes, whichever way you decided you wanted to go. So over here on this side, here's another pocket. This is the back cover, and I created from my scraps 2 of these cute little magnetic inserts where you can do journaling, you can add little tiny photos, you can do memorabilia, and these have magnetic closures as well. So you'll learn how to do all of this in the video tutorial that is to follow, so hang around for that. You'll want to have a notebook and pencil handy because it's a lot of measurements to write down. I will also put a link, here's the back cover, I will also put a link to my blog at Kathy by Design, so you can go there and get more details. So hang around, the tutorial's coming up next. Let's get our craft on. I'll see you in a minute. Bye. Okay, so let's get started building the base for this mini album, and this is going to be a little tricky to fit in the frame because it's a trifold, so it's really long. But basically what I've done is cut 3 5x7 pieces of mat board and then 2 2x7 pieces of mat board. These are your spines. So this, you can see, is going to fold like this, right? Then I pieced together chocolate, like a chocolate brown cardstock, and I cut this to measure, hold on, 18 plus 19, 20 3/4 inches, because you want a 1/2 inch on each side, and this is going to be it's about 8 1/8, something like that. So it doesn't have, that part doesn't have to be super precise. You just have to make sure that you have a margin all the way around. So usually what I do is I take my 2 pieces of 12x12 cardstock, run score tape, you can see how I did that here, to join them together, then overlap that 1/2 inch, and you won't even see this when we're finished. And then you use that score tape line to help you line everything up. So once you've done that, then I put my pieces down, then I cut it to fit around, if that makes sense. So then I use this really super thin but strong packing tape. It's just this brown kind of crafty, I don't know, it's like a, it's super thin. And you can get it, I think, at the dollar store. And I just put this along the spines, and I take my bone folder and press that down in there, and that is just going to reinforce where the spines get all that wear and tear. It's going to reinforce that. So then trim your corners, and I trimmed mine a little tight, so I just used a little ground espresso distress ink to cover that. And this is where you're going to need your bone folder. And you can use score tape or you can use liquid adhesive. It just has to be a really good, strong adhesive. And this cardstock is thick, which is great because that means it's going to be really sturdy, but it also means it's a little bit hard to bend. So that's where I use my bone folder to just kind of push along here and help that to want to fold, and you just take your time so you don't crack the paper. And if you do crack the paper, it's not a big deal. It just kind of adds a distressed look, which is fine because this is going to be a real vintage looking folio anyway. And I'm just using my bone folder to press that cardstock down into those spines. Move over so you can see. And this is why I don't add my adhesive all at the same time, because this way I don't have to worry about it drying out on me. So I tend to like to do the top and the bottom first. This is just what I'm used to doing. Ready to do the sides. So now we just want to encourage this to bend along the spine, and again, you want to just take your time. Don't be in a hurry. Just take your time. But you can see how this is going to meet and make this really cool folio. So the next thing is lining the inside, and to do that I've cut 2 pieces of brown, the same brown cardstock. And of course we're going to cover this with designer paper, and this is 10 inches by 6 3/4 inches. And because this is a really long expanse here, we're not going to be able to cover it with one piece. But again, I'm going to add my adhesive to both the cardstock and to the base, and I want to specifically go around these spines because I really want it to adhere along the spines. So we're going to do the first one. Move this into the frame so you can see what we're doing. And I just like to try to get that as straight as I can. And again, take this bone folder where the spines are, that's going to help that crease. Take the second piece, and obviously these are going to overlap, but I tried to do it so that my seam ends up in the center. Encourage those spines down in again. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to let that adhesive set up a bit before I try to come in and fold this, because it wants to buckle on me because it's not completely set. So I'm going to take a little break, let my adhesive set, and then we'll come back and we'll do the next step. Now that we've let that glue set up, we can go ahead and just gently bend these covers in. As you can see, we're nice and square, and we've got this great little base. So the next thing I want to do is add my magnets for the closure. And I like to do this now because if I don't always, I put the designer paper down and then it's too late. So I lined my magnets. These are large basic gray, and I've lined them up so they're about 1/2 inch in and 1/2 inch up. 1/2 inch in from the side, 1/2 inch up or down from the top and bottom. And I just peeled off the little magnetic backing and put those there, and then I'm putting this score tape down just to help hold them in place, because it's never a bad idea. So put your negative on top of your positive, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that with this one. So we're just going to do like this. Then I'm actually just going to put a little piece of score tape on top. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? Somehow I ended up with all positives. But okay, so bring this right hand cover over to where you want it to be. Then fold the left hand cover down and press. Okay, so carefully lift. There you go. So now these match, you know, these match up, and now I'll just put the score tape over these to make sure that they stay where they're supposed to stay too. And when it comes time to put your designer paper down, obviously you're going to peel off that score tape, but we're going to leave it on there for right now. Because the next thing I want to do I decided I wanted a single page unit in each of these spine pieces since I've got such a nice wide spine here. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add those. And I've cut 2 pieces of this brown cardstock, 3 inches wide by 6.5. And I like to go a little shorter than what my page is actually going to be, because then I find that my pages slip nicely over the tab. So bring in your scoring tool and lay this on the short side, and you're just going to score it 1, 1.5, and 2. And then, as you can see what I've done here, you're just going to pinch this middle score line up to make almost like a little mountain. So we've got our 2 spines, and we're going to come in with our 1/2 inch score tape, and we're going to place it on one side of the valley on each spine. Then peel off the liner. And just press that together. And then I like to use my bone folder to make it go this way and to make it go that way. So there's the one, and we'll just do this again. 1 piece of 1/2 inch. This is 1/2 inch score tape. If that was a 1/4 inch, I would use 1/4 inch score tape, but we scored 1/2 inch. Peel off the backer. Flip it over. Pinch. And now what we're going to do is adhere these in right here, and they're a perfect little fit. How nice is that? So because they're a little short, you just want to make sure you're centered there and there. You can use score tape. In fact, I think I will use score tape for this, just because it sets up right away. And if I wasn't doing a tutorial, I would probably use my liquid adhesive, because then you know, it doesn't have to set up immediately, but since we're doing a tutorial, we'll expedite this a little bit. I'm just going to try to line this up before I stick it down. Looks pretty good. And you're just going to repeat that with this one over here. All right, now we're going to build the page unit. So hold on, I'll be right back. Now we're ready to make our page inserts. And to start with, I've cut 2 pieces of this 12 by 18 brown cardstock to measure 13.5 by 9. Then bring in your scoring tool, and on the short side, you're going to score at 4.5. And because it's longer than our scoring tool, we're just going to flip it, and we're going to do it again. I like to score both sides because I find I get a better crease that way. Then on the long side, we're going to score at 6 3/4. So we'll just do that again. 4.5. and 6 3/4. So bring in your cutting tool, and we've got 4 quadrants, right? We're going to come over here to the left, the horizontal score line, and we're going to cut from this horizontal score line to this vertical score line. So it's actually at 6 3/4. You can use your measuring, you can measure if you want. I'm just going to line it up with my score line, and then I'm just going to make a cut right down to that score line. And you're going to repeat this on the second page. Now fold this in half. Let me find my bone folder. So do you see what I did? I just took the top and folded it down in half. Now you've got this loose flap over on the side. Fold it to the right. Then you've got one more flap over here. Fold it behind. And this gives you this really neat little page unit. We'll just do that again. So here's the top, fold in half, burnish along the score line. Take this flap that's on the left, fold it to the right. Now you've got another flap on the bottom, fold it to the back. Super quick and easy. And you've got everything all lined up. Now, we want to turn this middle section where it's joined at the top, we're going to turn this into a pocket. So I'm going to take a little piece of 1/8 inch score tape, and I'm going to run it right along just this bottom edge. Just like that. And of course you could use liquid adhesive, but I like to use score tape for this because, make sure I got this right. Yep. Because it doesn't spread and it gives you the maximum space in your pocket. So now we've got this lovely pocket. We're just going to repeat it with this unit, and we're just going to, between these 2 pages, we're going to open this up, and down here on this bottom edge, we're just going to run our score tape, 1/8 inch. We're just going to close it back. You see? There's our pocket. Now, on this opposite side, you've got this opening, and this is what fits over the tab. You see how this is just going to slide right on there, nice as you please. So what we're going to do is add adhesive to both sides of our tab, just like this. And we're just going to slide this right over the tab. And it's going to fit just as nice as you please. I'm just going to take my bone folder to encourage this to fold in both directions. Clean up this adhesive so it doesn't stick to that. As you can see, it likes to do that. So look, now we have a page, a pocket, and a page. Isn't that fun? We're just going to do the same thing over here on this side. So look, now these will close like this. We have our magnetic closure there. Awesome. Isn't that cool? I'm really happy. So for this first center panel, I've used this beautiful autumn stripe. And again, this is cut to 4 7/8 by 6 5/8. And then I prepared this insert. And we're going to tuck this insert right back behind there, and it's going to fit like a glove. And of course it will loosen up the more you pull it in and out. So this is the signature page. So I've prepared a pocket. We've done this multiple times, so we won't do this again. We're just going to put our pocket right there. And then if you've got a pocket, you got to have something to go in a pocket. So I created this cute little folio. This is 12 inches wide, and I just scored it 4 and 8. And I've lined this with papers from the 6x6 collection. And the liner paper is 3 7/8 inches by 5 5/8 inches. And this is just going to tuck nicely into this center pocket. So more places for photos. Then I'm just going to use my scrapbook adhesives, Easy Runner strips to add some pieces here. This is one of the cardstock elements. I fussy cut the pumpkin from one of the 3x4s. This is a little image from the 6x6, and this is just a little banner flag that I cut of that pretty wheat paper, which is on the back side of this. There. Took me a minute. Line that up. And then I sanded the edges here to bring out the white core because I just thought that looked really neat. And I'm going to add some adhesive on the back of this as well. Add it to my waste packaging. Waste not, want not. And that's just going to create a nice bit of dimension for us. And I want this to go right about here. Then also on my pumpkin, just cut a piece to go on the back of that. Like that. And while that's, before that is completely set, I'm just going to tuck this little give thanks down into there. And this is just real simple. You can come back, you can add ribbon. I think burlap string wrapped around this would be super cute. Any of those things would look great. But then this just tucks in our pocket, just as nice as you please. The insert flap goes over that, and then you can pick an image to go over this. I haven't done that yet. I might choose, I like these acorns, so I'll probably do those, back them with a little burlap, and then that takes care of our center panel. But I just wanted you to see how all these elements came together there. I'm also probably going to cut some designer paper from my scraps when I'm completely done, just to cover these large areas on either side. And I'm probably going to cut it to measure 7/8 of an inch by the height of that panel, just to keep everything looking uniform and really nice. So let me get the next section done and we'll be back. Let's go ahead and talk about lining these two flip pages. So you're going to need to cut 12 pieces of paper to measure 4 3/8 by 6 5/8. And I kind of did, you can see I kept it real symmetrical, but you can mix it up any way you want to. And then the insert that goes in the pocket, which I haven't done yet, but I will, which I cannot find the pocket. There we go. The insert that goes in this pocket is going to measure 6 inches by 5 inches. And then the next thing you need to do is cover these 4 pieces on either side of the little page units, and these are 7/8 of an inch by 6 7/8 inches, and just cut those and adhere those. And then that brings us to these 2 end pieces, and for this I use that beautiful barn and old truck image on each side. I just wanted to keep everything kind of symmetrical, and these are cut, hold on, let me just double check, 4 7/8 inches by 6 7/8 inches. Alrighty, so the next step is I cut this panel, and again this is 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. this beautiful yellow floral. And then I took a scrap of my beautiful barn wood. This is about 3 7/8, but again, it was a scrap, so you could go wider, you could go narrower, and this is about 6 inches long. It's actually 6.5 because I scored a 1/2 inch flap and secured it back behind this panel before I glued the panel in place. So now what I want to do is add a little magnetic folio inside, and again I placed my little magnets just like we did before. You put this one down first, put this one on top, you close it, and it sets it exactly where it needs to be. And then I've cut a couple of pieces. I thought this would be a cute hidden journaling spot, so I've cut a piece of cream cardstock. It's just a scrap, 3 by 4. And then on the left is just another little scrap of barnwood, and again 3 by 4 would be fine, but this happens to be 2 3/4 by 3 3/4 because that is what I had. I like to use my scraps, so you can make that be whatever size you want it to be. And I'm just adding my scrapbook adhesives, and then we'll center this up. And then on the back, I'm going to add like this. And we're just going to center this up on this flap. Isn't that pretty? I did the 3 by 4 acorns on the cover, and now you've got this great little hidden journaling spot that has a magnetic closure, so that's fun. And then of course here you can do a large photo. I don't want to put a whole lot here because remember our magnets are here, and we don't want to interfere with the work that they want to do. And I love this truck image from the cut apart page, and it really goes well with this barn image over here. And then these are 2 banners from the components, the punch out components, and I'm going to use the back side of this one here. Make sure I'm not too crooked. And I want to use the front side of this one. Just kind of stagger that. That's cute. Add some adhesive to the back. Put this on our flap. And then this is one of the little sentiments, and again I sanded this to bring out the white core. I like that little bit of distressing, and that's going to go here. Next, we want to add our pocket and inserts to this right-hand inside page. So from my scraps, I found this piece of barnwood paper, and because our page is 6 7/8 inches high, we want to cut our pocket piece 7 7/8 inches, and that gives us the room we need to score a 1/2 inch on both sides. And then the width of this is 3 because I want it to be 2.5 inches deep when it's done. So I'm just going to show you again quickly how to do these little side pockets. Just snip out the corners. Sometimes it's a little hard to see on this dark paper where I scored. And then what I did, I wanted you to see how to do this in case you were interested. My circle punch broke, so I had to figure out a new way to add the little center hole. This is a Spellbinder's large circle die, and I just put it on there with a little bit of Post-it tape and run it through my die cut machine, and it gives me this lovely pocket. So now that we've got this all done, we're just going to add our adhesive. Oops. Always forget to take the cap off. Along the bottom edge, fold our corners over to catch that, and then just add some adhesive on the side. Our book in, and this is going to go right over here on this edge, and I want to kind of keep an even margin just so that it looks consistent. Isn't that pretty? And then we need something to put in our pockets. So for that, I found scraps of our brown paper, and I cut these to measure, hold on, I forget, I wrote it down, but I can't find the paper, 3 inches. They were 3-inch scraps by 11. So I put them on my scoring tool. I scored at 2 inches, and I scored again at 6.5. And this makes our little folio. So I like to use a corner punch, and I really like the way the stub punch looks on these. So I'm just going to do the corners quickly. And then to line these folios, you're going to need to cut 4 pieces that measure 2 7/8 by 1 7/8. And then you're going to, this I want on the front, but you can, I mean, I'm just using scraps, so don't get crazy. Just, if you like a different paper combination, do that. Forgot to ink these. Just keep everything consistent. Yeah, so I just went through my scraps and picked out the ones that I thought looked good together and would look good with the design of the album. And then to line the panels, of course, 2 7/8 is going to be the width. The width is the same, and these are 4 3/8. And you're going to need 8 of those. And I have this wood print for the inside. So this doesn't have, I guess I need to do all 4 sides anyway. Yep. So before I place my papers, I know that I need a magnetic closure here. So we're just going to do our magnets again and peel off the little backing. I want this to be right about here. A little score tape over the top of that to hold it in place. I'm going to peel off this little layer, put it here, and then bring your cover down, and there it is, perfectly placed, so they match, they line up just right. And this could make a great spot on the back for a little hidden journaling. This tucks nicely into this pocket, and it will close still, so we're all good. I'll make the other one of these, and then we'll be back to do the next part. Now let's look at some of the finishing touches here, and then we'll go ahead and put the cover together. But here are our flipped pages, and you can see I decorated the covers. I just fussy cut images from the 3x4 cards and layered up some scraps of paper here, added a little burlap twine bow and a little button I had in my stash. Also these little metal leaves, I just inked them with Versamark and then heat embossed, stamped them with a text stamp and heat embossed with copper embossing powder. Then I just tapped them with distress paints. So that's that. And you have to remember with these inside pages, embellishments have to be kept flat or your book will not close. you won't, the magnets won't be able to do their job. So I've left these pages basically blank. I think they're pretty just like they are. I don't think there's any need to add a whole lot of stuff here. If you wanted to just glue one side of various like 3x4 cards so that you can tuck a photo back behind there, that's absolutely fine. And of course it'd be really cute, but I was being careful not to get this too bulky. Here's our center panel again with this fussy cut pumpkin. I just cut that out from a 3x4, added one of the punch outs, a couple of the punch outs from the sticker sheet, and that's done. That's all there is to that. And then we made the inserts together here, so that's fine. And then over here, again, this is a magnet page, so you have to keep this really simple. And I thought about putting just a little pocket or a flip here, but I love this scene so much. I left it just like it is and just added this punch out from the component sheet. So on the side, you're going to cut your side panels, and you're going to need 2 of these. And these are 2 inches by 7 inches. And I just layered over this one of the punch out sheets components, and then put a strip of the wood here to cover up the sentiment. And this is a vintage keyhole that I had in my stash. And to give it a rusty look, I just tapped it with rusty hinge and scattered straw distress ink. So that dresses up that side. Then this spine, same thing, 2x7. This is an image from the 6x6 bundle that I just cut out and glued on the bottom of the spine. And you can't punch through this because you've got a page right here in the center. So what I did was I just adhered this little ribbon strip, folded it in half, trimmed the edges out, and then glued on this metal coin and tied on these little metal charms. And these have all been tapped with distress ink as well. A little burlap string bow, a little flower. And I didn't have the right color flowers, so here's a tip for you. You can alter your flowers with sprays and inks. I used sunflower sparkle and fossilized amber, and these were beige flowers, so it gave them a really nice golden appearance. The back cover, I just used, this measures 5 by 6 7/8, and I just used this wonderful woven pattern, added a little image from the 6x6 bundle. So that brings us to the front cover. And for this, I stitched together the orange damask print with the brown and blue and gold calico. And then I backed this piece of the wheat paper with burlap, and then these other little scrap pieces, just layered that up so you can kind of see. And I'll give you the measurements. This is 4 7/8 by probably 6 7/8. Yep. And then the brown panel is 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then the yellow panel, the wheat panel, is 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. And then the leaves are 3 by 4, you can say 4 1/4. It's a little over that because these are scraps. And then 3 by 3 1/4. And I just stitched these all together onto this burlap and then adhered this to this. So that's that. So to decorate the cover, I fussy cut this beautiful pumpkin from one of the 3x4 cards. And that's going to sit up here in this corner. But before I do that, here's our embellishment for the cover. And I created this using Tim's Ornate Frame die. I die cut it from first mat board, then the wood print from the 12x12 collection. And then I traced around the inside and cut out the sunflower image from the 3x4. And then these are those little birdie flowers that were beige that I altered with my inks and sprays. Also the leaves. So they have a really nice vintage fall look. This is a double bow that I tied with center stitch burlap ribbon from Really Reasonable Ribbon, burlap string, a little metal butterfly that I altered with my paints, just a little snippet of ribbon over here, and here's what the back looks like. So you can see it's kind of a mess on the back, but it looks really great on the front, just so you can see how everything is attached. These are the little banner flags from the punch-out sheet, and I backed this with a couple of layers of chipboard to give it extra dimension. So we're going to go ahead and lay this down on our cover, and I'm just using some hot glue to attach everything, and being careful where I put my fingers because hot glue is hot. And that's going to go just like that. Then I'm going to take this pumpkin and very quickly add adhesive to the back, just to add that extra little bit of dimension and color and fall beauty back there. And I'm just going to press this all down really, really well. And with the butterfly was flat, so I just kind of shaped him with my fingers. It's real soft metal, so you can do that. And then I have two more of these little leaves that I'm going to tuck. I don't know, I'll figure that out. But I want to put an acorn in here because I just love the acorn paper in this collection. So I thought it would be fun to add a couple of acorns to the cover. So I'm just going to put a nice puddle of glue down here. And then let me find a couple of skinny acorns that will fit without too much trouble. Okay, and that solves that problem. I'm going to tuck these leaves in underneath. I had just enough time before that glue set. I'm going to add a little more glue right here because that one doesn't feel quite attached. But that's it. We're finished. And here's what it looks like from the top. You can see all those fun pages and fold outs and flaps and the sides. Beautiful vintage. This is great. You can set this out for home decor and then keep all your family reunion or Thanksgiving or, you know, fall photos. Fall is such a beautiful time to take photos. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial. I know this was a long one. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I wish you joy and creativity. If you enjoyed this and learned some tips and tricks that you can use in your own crafty adventures, please give this video a thumbs up and comment below. And I am going to go get my craft on. Have a good one. Bye.